A Syrian migrant found guilty of raping a 13-year-old Norwegian girl in a bike shed in Tromsø will serve just 6 months in prison after the sentencing court ruled that the attacker had a low IQ and a reduced understanding of reality. So unlucky, the Norwegians are experiencing exactly what we experienced. Apparently very hot take. If you are too low IQ to understand reality and that raping a 13-year-old Norwegian girl is bad, you should be taken to that same bike shed and shot. That should be your punishment. You should not live, you should not go to an insane asylum, you should not be a ward of the state until you die, you should not be let free by activist shit judges. You should just be killed. You are not worth anything to society. No one will miss you. Your life is abject failure. Get out. Abdelmonem Abdelrazik Al-Youssef, what the fuck is that name? Was found to have raped the girl in September 2024, less than a year after arriving in Norway from Syria. He met her in Tromsø city center before assaulting her on a park bench and leading her to a secluded bike shed near the harbor terminal where he raped her. He initially denied meeting the girl, but after semen was found at the scene and traced to him, he admitted to meeting the victim but not to engaging in sexual activity. Psychiatric assessments showed he had a very low IQ, and the court ruled that the defendant is most likely no further along in development than the victim. So are you saying that if a 13-year-old raped another 13-year-old, it would be fine? Like, what else am I supposed to take from this fucking sentence? They don't even say the age of the guy. Not that I care about the age of the guy, he should be taken out regardless. But what the fuck? A change to Norwegian law last year removed the minimum prison sentence of 3 years for rape, allowing the court to impose a partial suspended sentence conditional on probation, meaning he will only serve 6 months inside. Why did Norway do this? Can I don't know if I have any Norway bros in the chat, but why in the fuck is your country being run like California? What is happening? Yeah, why would they do that? This is Remix News. I've never heard of Remix News. They got like 61.6K. I guess they're like a news and commentary from Europe. I looked up this story because I was like, why is something that happened in 2024 being posted about now? Apparently this is like, they just gave him his sentence now. And when I looked up this story, the only things that came up in the Google search was this post, the official Remix News website, a handful of Facebook posts, and then this Fox News article from last year. And it isn't even the same girl. It isn't even the same rape. So like European news is like just declining to cover this kind of shit, I guess. Like, what the fuck? Outrage, a Swedish court refuses to deport convicted rapist. Prime Minister promises crackdown. Those who commit serious crimes in Sweden and are not Swedish citizens must leave the country. Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson warns. And some people would call this like radical. This is just normal. What are we doing? Swede here. All of the Scandinavian countries have been fucked since COVID at least. The good news is your electricity bill is low from how much you're glowing. Man, a Swedish appeals court decision not to deport a convicted rapist because his assault on a 16-year-old girl was not deemed exceptionally grave has ignited outrage, fueling a backlash against Sweden's justice system. I remember covering this when this first happened. I remember covering this when it first happened. So this must have been like some kind of update because I don't remember the prime minister stepping in when I covered it. You thought ignorance of the law was no excuse? What happened? The Court of Appeal for Northern Norland confirmed to Fox News Digital that the defendant, an Eritrean national and illegal immigrant, Yezied Mohammed, was sentenced to 3 years in prison for raping the 16-year-old girl from the northern town of Skellefteå. I probably butchered that pronunciation, but that's a cool town name. On September 1st, 2024, the court acknowledged that while the crime was serious, it did not meet the threshold for deportation because of its nature and short duration. The ruling prompted swift condemnation from Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson, who released a video promising stricter deportation laws. No one should have to worry about meeting their attacker or rapist on the street, Kristersson said. Those who commit serious crimes in Sweden and are not Swedish citizens must leave the country. In a written response to Fox News Digital, Judge Lars Victorson said the court considered both the nature and duration of the act, noting there was no use of weapon, there wasn't intercourse, and that the duration of the incident had been short. It is true that the duration of the rape was of significance in the assessment of the matter of the deportation, Victorson stated. However, the nature of the offense was at least as significant. So it's okay if you rape someone as long as you don't use your dick and as long as it only lasts a certain amount of time. The duration was too short. I hate these people. Just a quickie. Kristersson pledged to introduce the toughest legislation in all the Nordic countries, stating that any crime resulting in more than a fine could lead to deportation. With these new stricter rules, 6 times as many people are expected to be deported. We're going further than any government has ever done before. Well, the Dominican Republic, I think, has probably gone the farthest. And I think Western countries need to look at the Dominican Republic's deportation policies to kind of get us back on track. Migration Minister Johan Forsell echoed the Prime Minister's sentiment in a video he posted on X, calling the case unacceptable. The victim's right to safety must always outweigh the perpetrator's right to stay in Sweden, he said. Next year, I will present new legislation that will make Sweden the toughest country in the Nordic region when it comes to crime-related deportations. We also need to review the internal conventions that, until now, have made it harder to carry out necessary deportations. This is about justice and about giving victims the dignity and the closure they deserve. Which, agreed, it's wild that there was any other opinion besides this one. The district court initially acquitted him, accepting that a rape had occurred but finding insufficient evidence that he was the perpetrator. After an appeal, the Court of Appeal overturned that ruling, concluding that Mohammed matched the description given by the victim and a witness, and that forensic evidence placed him near the scene. The court sentenced him to 3 years in prison, the minimum for rape in Sweden, and ordered him to pay 240,000 Swedish krona, about 25,600 in damages. That's pretty crazy. In the UK, you can rape white children for free, but in Sweden, it costs you $25,000. It ruled that while the offense was serious, it was not of such an exceptionally grave nature to justify deportation under refugee protections. One judge dissented, arguing he should be expelled. I cannot imagine looking at a child of my country who has been raped by an invader and saying, well, you know, it was kind of bad that she was assaulted, but it would be way worse if we deported him back to his home country. How could we do something like that and live with ourselves? We need to keep him here so he can rape more children. Just one judge dissented. I am very close to glowing. The decision sparked global attention after social media posts claimed Mohammed avoided deportation because the rape lasted less than 10 minutes, which is when I covered this before. While no specific time frame appears in the judgment, the court confirmed that duration was one factor in its assessment. Which again is wild! There's no, duration of consent when it comes to rape. It's not like, oh, it was only 2 minutes, therefore your rape wasn't actually bad enough to be rape. But then once you cross that, 5-minute threshold, it's like, whoa, buddy, you can't just pay $25,000 anymore to rape that white kid. Did the cartoon catapult trick load them and launch them over the border? Maybe next time he assaults a kid, he'll last long enough to be deported? The only way to get over not glowing and saying what needs to be done is to make these incredibly dark jokes, because it's this is well beyond abhorrent. You should not be sacrificing your country's children on the altar of rape to import foreigners. What the fuck is wrong with you? Send them back to their countries. Swedish journalist Christian Peterson told Fox News Digital the ruling's wording, referring to the character and duration of the act, became a flashpoint for public anger. The judges themselves determined which aspects of the crime were relevant and whether those were sufficiently severe to justify deportation. That's what makes this ruling so controversial. A post by Swedish commenter Evelina Hani, viewed nearly 10 million times and shared by Elon Musk, accused Swedish courts of leniency toward migrants and reignited a nationwide debate over crime and immigration. Peterson said the case highlights a broader issue: Sweden's difficulty deporting migrants even after serious convictions. In Sweden, it's very difficult to deport migrants, even those convicted of serious crimes. This case became symbolic because people feel it shows how the system protects offenders more than victims. And this is happening in every Western country, every single one. They very much prioritize criminals and perpetrators of crime over the victims. He noted similar cases, including the 2010 murder of Elin Krantz, a young woman killed by an Ethiopian man with a residence permit, and recent reports of rapes in elderly care homes involving foreign-born workers. This is exactly that inversion of reality hierarchy from that post I read the other day, where the actual victim in this case holds too many privileged characteristics, So any crime committed against someone with the privileged characteristics and the hierarchy, well, that crime didn't really happen to them. They actually kind of deserved it. They should at least punish them with castration before deporting them. These monsters aren't going to pay for their crimes when they're sent back. You know, they might actually pay more dearly for their crimes when they're sent back to their home countries. Because in these third world countries, if, like, you know, a family finds out you even attempted to rape their child, they'll just fucking murder you. Like, unironically, third world countries have more punishment on occasion for these crimes than our countries do. Only after the right-wing coalition took power in 2022 did meaningful reforms begin to take shape, Peterson said. Before that, the issue was considered too politically sensitive. If you had told me back in high school that left-wing parties would become the de facto party of murder and rape, I wouldn't have believed you. I would have thought, like, you were crazy. But yeah, he's right. If you vote for left-leaning people at this point, you are voting for more rape and more murder. Congratulations, blue button pressers. Still, he says, Sweden did not join a Danish-Italian initiative within the European Union to reform the European Convention on Human Rights, which critics say limits the ability to deport convicted offenders. Denmark, Italy, and Austria signed on. Sweden did not. As public anger mounts, Sweden's government faces pressure to implement tougher policies. Judge Victorson told Fox News Digital the court followed existing law and precedent, but the power to change deportation standards lies with lawmakers. All of the activists, they need to be gone. All of the communists need to be basically treated as the non-humans they actually are. Communists should not be allowed free speech. Communists should not be allowed to teach. Communists should not be allowed to hold positions of political power. Communists should be as persona non grata as anyone who is an actual avowed Nazi. Can our civilization survive its betrayal by elites? I would say yes, but it would require the strong men to do things that are very glowy. Sometimes you have to wonder what the point of fighting the decline of Western civilization is. It seems inevitable, and enough people seem to tolerate it that it's easy to think about giving up, moving someplace where the deterioration will take longer, or be avoided by a large enough concentration of people who share our values, so sanity will prevail. I continue to believe this attitude is wrong, morally, strategically, and tactically. I already agree with this guy because I've been saying for ages now, the fucking I just want to grill and I'm not going to do anything about it people are just as bad, if not worse, than the communists actively ruining everything. Because it's because of their inaction we don't have enough people at the moment to push back in the legal avenues that we currently have. It's because of them things keep getting taken from us by the people who actually want to win and change our culture. I have zero tolerance for the I just want to grill, but I will not stand up and defend my right to do it people anymore. It may be tempting to go down that path, but we are not put on this earth to do easy things. We are put here to do important things, which are often hard. I have taken to keeping a running tab of outrageous stories about crime, not because I'm obsessed with or worry about crime much impacting me, but because the evolving attitude about crime in Western societies is symptomatic of a larger cultural disease. And this is actually the Syrian migrant raping a 13-year-old I just talked about. Someone saying he's too retarded, he does not understand reality, he's unable to stop raping. Oh, are you putting him in a psychiatric hospital? No. Oh, is he going to jail forever? No. Are you deporting him? No. Will he be monitored once released? No. And this is just a transcript of the tweet. Our societies have become suicidal, sometimes in a literal way. Ask Canadians about that. Our elites have flooded our countries with barbarians who are raping and murdering. This is another tweet. New London rape data. The sexual assault and rape numbers have gone up by 400%. In 59 days, there were 1,459 rapes reported. We know who the main predators are. London is now officially the rape capital of Europe. Continued silence from legacy media, politicians, and the liberal left. And this is a news clip from just a few days ago.
In 59 days, across January and February, in 59 days, there was 1,435 rapes reported in London.
And that's reported. So you could probably double that or even more multiples of it, because a lot of people won't.
That's it. The sexual assault and rape numbers have gone up by 400%. So when Sadiq Khan talks about, oh, it's the safest city in the country, it's outrageous. We know that there are...
Well, It's the safest city in the country as long as you're not white. And as we know, white people aren't even human, so crimes against them don't count. So that's why it's the safest city. You see how that works? You see how that makes sense?
We know that there are rape gangs operating in London. We know that there's trafficking. We know all of these things. And we know who the predators are, mainly. In 59 days, across January and February, in 59 days, there was 1,435 rapes reported in London.
I just needed to hear the statistic again. That's fucking crazy, dude. There is no rehabilitation for certain behaviors. Agreed. Absolutely agreed. In Europe, rates of rape has skyrocketed as migrants, particularly from South Asian Muslim countries, have streamed in. And the solution that has been implemented is simple. Hide the statistics from people, deny it's happening, fail to arrest as many criminals as possible, and blame the victims. Diversity is our strength, or something. Swedish court has ruled that the Eritrean migrant who raped 16-year-old Maya Aberg won't be deported because the rape didn't last long enough. We just read that one too. Countries won't deport the criminals, and if a leader does, as with Trump, hordes of liberals take to the streets and commit violence to ensure that actual rapists, pedos, and gang members are allowed to stay here. Prosecutors will let criminals go in order to ensure that ICE can't deport them. And politicians get on their high horses to wax eloquently about how these rapists are our neighbors. Lawfare, Biden judge ordered the release of Dominican illegal alien with an Interpol red notice arrest warrant for murder. Judge Melissa Dubose doesn't care about you or the law. Congress needs to start impeaching judges before it's too late. Hard agree. Like, at this point, I don't care about the process. I don't care how it gets done. Impeach these fucking judges. I do not care, Margaret. Get them out. Lawfare, New York has released 7,000 violent criminals here illegally from jail instead of turning them over to ICE for deportation. Democrats care more about getting votes from illegals than protecting citizens. Those are tweets from May 1st, dude. We cannot deport murderers even for reasons. This bodega owner told ABC a year ago that he fears for his safety in New York. Last night, he was killed by a shoplifter.
Himself spoke with Eyewitness News a year ago, saying he worried about violence against bodega workers he'd seen on social media.
People got shot, killed, sometimes got robbed, and the police never responds quick.
Tonight, the organization is wondering if the person who shot Abdul Salah was someone who shouldn't have been on the street.
Well, I'm not surprised. There probably are someone who shouldn't have been on the street. Our cultural elite will bend over backwards to prevent ordinary people from knowing just who is committing crimes and who is letting them go because, well, it's a bad look. And the normies might get upset. Criminals are Maryland Man or Lorton Man, and always presented as salt of the earth or something. Meet Lorton Man, an illegal alien and repeat violent freed by Fairfax Soros DA Steve DeSano over and over. Akuama Boateng? What the fuck is that name? Date of birth, 9/1995. 50 plus charges. 10 plus arrests since 2023. Descano dropped the charges. 2 times attempted murder, 3 assaults, 4 times shooting and possessing a gun, plus home invasion, bomb threat, drugs, and theft. This was like, we were reading an article a couple of weeks ago about like some illegal who did something in Texas, and they called him like, I don't remember if it was a town name or a Texas man, but they called him that, and I was like, there's absolutely no way. There's no fucking way. Whatever the excuses for letting criminals run riot, it all boils down to this in liberals' minds. Westerners are the bad guys, and reparations to the oppressed must be made. If you are on the intersectional ladder, you are allowed to do anything until you kill somebody. And even then, you might get a pass. A RIP officer John Bartholomew, 38, father of 3, husband, killed in Chicago by a felon on parole with 20 plus arrests, Alfonso Tali. Judge Like released him multiple times. That's a dangerous name. We have the defund the police activists, the decarceration activists, the anti-ICE activists, and of course the pro-sex crime activists in California and in lefty areas. For the 3rd time, California Democrats reject a law that would make it a felony to purchase sex from a 16 or 17-year-old child. What?
Over the state capitol where the fight continues over child sex trafficking. Democrats today again rejecting another push to make it an automatic felony to purchase or solicit a 16 or 17-year-old for sex. Thanks for being with us at 6.
So, all right, hold on. California decriminalized knowingly infecting someone with HIV without disclosing it to them. They also, when it came to the sodomy laws, instead of making the homosexual sodomy laws be in line with the heterosexual ones, or vice versa. What was it? People were like upset because the sodomy laws on the books like targeted fucking homosexuals more than heterosexuals or something. And instead of evening them out and making the punishment the exact same, they made it the more lenient one. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Even he sounds tired of Callie's shit.
Golston Dark.
And I'm Edie Lambert.
That's Callie for you. Callie is fucking dystopian. What the hell? I mean, maybe the Democrats are like, well, our ideal age for child sex is like 13. So 16 and 17 is too old for us. So we don't need to make that a felony. Maybe that's the logic they're working on. 16-year-olds are eager to be sex trafficked. Jesus Christ. Scott Wiener, who keeps lowering the bar for sex offenders, will soon replace Nancy Pelosi in Congress. He leads the charge for making human trafficking easier, lowering the bar for sex crimes, and grooming children. Is he like going to replace Nancy Pelosi, or is this just like everyone is so fucking retarded he's expected to be voted in regardless? Of course it's Wiener. I mean, Wiener looks like he has AIDS. How is this real? Because California is like America's very own mini UK. It's just like a dystopian hellhole where nothing makes sense. Check his hard drives. Our society is no longer defending itself from the worst people, and civilizations cannot long survive when the innocent are sacrificed. There will be a breaking point. This one says, Governor DeSantis is calling for the immediate impeachment of Judge Tiffany Baker. Judge Baker released a child rapist who was a known danger to society. While out on bail, the rapist tortured and killed a 5-year-old little girl. Should she be impeached? Look at that demonic fucking smile, dude. Holy shit.
I appreciate the legislature for passing this, but I will just say to my friends in the Florida House of Representatives, I don't think what you've done is enough. You have the power and you have...
Why does nobody do anything anymore? Well, anyone who tries to do anything is called a racist, a rapist, a pedophile, a fascist, a Nazi. And for some reason, these men in power, not this guy specifically, but he is a man in power. For some reason, men in power just decide that it's horrible to be called those things, and so they cannot do what must be done. Instead of saying, like, yeah, I don't really care, Margaret, I'm gonna do it anyway. They go, oh no, they called me mean word, I can't do it, no. That woman is not real. What is that Joker-ass looking smile? You know, that's what I said.
Sufficient numbers in your chamber to impeach this judge, Tiffany Baker. Until you start holding these judges accountable, they are going to continue to find...
You hate that so many people still care about being called Nazi or whatever? I hate that some of us still have to care, which is why I keep grinding my axe against politicians and people in actual positions of power. Because it's like... You as an average person, if somebody starts lobbing Nazi accusations against you, you're gonna lose your job. That's just the end of it. Like, unless your boss is an actual fucking badass who's like, yeah, I don't really give a shit about what these freaks say, which is a very rare boss to have. If someone calls you a Nazi, you're losing your job. If you're in a position like me and someone starts calling you a Nazi, you're gonna lose sponsors. That's just what happens. So you have to care until people higher up on the fucking hierarchy, like these politicians, stop caring about it and start setting new standards. Companies stop firing people. Sponsors stop dropping people in the face of mob justice. It's going to continue, and you're going to be forced to care about the definitions these communists lob at you until more people start standing up against it. And it's fucking awful. I hate it. I hate it so fucking much. Fuck the concern over name calling. This is the line. Oh yeah. It's like fucking someone redid that like Which Way Western Man. And it's like, be called a racist and fix your country. And then the other one is like, be called a racist anyway and lose everything. It's like, that's literally your choice. Like, they're not gonna stop the name calling because they want you dead. That is the goal. The carbon they wish to reduce is fucking you. If you have not internalized this yet, you're not gonna make it, brother.
Ways to benefit the criminal element. This was an outrage. This was such an easy call to make sure that this guy was put behind bars. And this judge refused to do it, knowing the risks. And the result has obviously been a tragedy. So Florida Constitution vests the House of Representatives with the ability to bring an impeachment against a circuit judge. with 2/3 majority. You know, last time I checked, we've got way more than 2/3 of Republicans. Honestly, I think some Democrats would vote to impeach, given what happened in this case.
You would hope so, but I do not have faith there. There's no get called fascist and fix the country. Calling you a fascist is how they prevent you from fixing the country. I mean, while you're fixing the country, they're still going to call you that is basically what that means, which you just have to ignore it. You just have to say, yeah, I don't care about your duplicitous demon tears. Ironically, it is our elites who are all in on this. As less refined, less educated, and less insane people object, they're being demonized as fascists and bigots. Because all the best TM people know better. And this is another one, says San Antonio City Councilman says we won't need prisons if we give people healthcare, transportation, and housing. Very common worldview amongst Texas City Council persons. What a fucking retard. What an absolute fucking idiot. Holy shit. And it's like I said, people actually clapped for this fantasy nonsense. They truly believe that prisons aren't necessary, ever. And every prisoner is a byproduct of a systemic failure that only the government can fix. Now, you see, if you think that prisons are a byproduct of a systemic failure, why would you think that the government, parentheses, the system, would be the ones to fix it? Like what?
Housing, healthcare, recovery, and progress. You don't need the prisons.
This guy has an accent that tells me I should not listen to him.
And when we can either, and I'll be a little bit more direct.
That is not what I expected him to look like.
And what I'm saying is, we can either create a police state where we jail everyone for every little thing that we do. We survey them and we look out for everybody who's doing something.
Bro, he has like incredibly female coded manicure. What the fuck am I seeing? But also, no, we don't need a surveillance state, but when we catch someone, when we have their DNA in a rape, or when we have it on tape that they murdered someone, we can just execute them, Mr. Crazy Eyes. Like, what are you talking about?
Bad in our community and we lock them away. Or we can create a community where everyone has access to treatment, housing, healthcare, transportation, workforce, all of the things that make our city great and vibrant. If we invest in those things, we won't need the prisons. We won't need the jail. We won't need to invest.
The clapping is wild. And also, like, how do you even get to this worldview? Like, I cannot believe anyone espousing this stuff is being sincere. Like, they have to be lying. There's no way that you exist in this world and think that prisons are entirely unnecessary. Like, what? There's no one that is that fucking retarded. I could probably go to some, like, low-functioning 50 IQ needs a caretaker 24/7 and be like, if you stab lady and she stopped moving, is that bad? And they'd probably say yes. Let's be real. It's because they live in wealth areas where they're completely insulated from low trust actors. And it's like, I try to think about that, where it's like, maybe they've just only lived in high trust areas their entire lives. And I think about my upbringing, right? My grandparents, despite being like blue collar, like my grandmother was a stay-at-home mom, my grandfather was a glazer, my dad was a glazer, like, right? My entire family was like blue collar middle class at that time. And I think about living there, living where I did. My town was very high trust, very homogenous. All of the towns around me were the exact same way. But I had my mother. And when I spent time with my mother, I got to see what living in a not high trust, not homogenous area was like. And so it's like, if I didn't have my mom, would I have the same opinions of these insane people? Because I would have been around nothing but people who espoused leftist beliefs. I would have never been able to see what reality actually was outside of my area. Only the fox who isn't getting glazed. It's just like, I don't know. I am who I am because I am a culmination of the experiences that I've had. And if I take out some of those experiences, even if they've been very bad for me and I shouldn't have had to go through them, they would probably drastically alter who I am as a person. So why should we fight all this? Well, the obvious answer is that while we can move to save ourselves, our responsibility to the next generation requires us to do so. Do we want to leave the world a better place or watch it descend into barbarity after a golden age of a couple hundred years? And I also feel like the level of animosity all of us have towards how grotesque most of the boomers are, do we want future generations to look at us with that same contempt? With the like, you could have done something to fix this, but instead you were so cowardly and selfish that you sat there and did nothing while your country and the country I inherited fell to ruin. Why have you done this to us? You know? Many people are incapable of admitting they were wrong, unfortunately so. And it's like, I can understand how some people, and especially again in content creation, don't want to admit they're wrong, because admitting they're wrong means that they'll get pummeled for it forever. But it's like, I think there should be a certain level of grace given to people who do admit that they're wrong. It's like, you fucked up, you made a mistake, you're accountable for it. All right, good. We don't need to fucking drive the nail in any farther, right? Burdening future generations with debt that you won't pay for is a good way to foster contempt? Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's like, part of me wonders if that is like one of the prongs of the, oh my god, childless life is so much better. Like, why would you ever want an icky child? They take up all your time and like your money, and like, oh my god, you couldn't just like leave on a whim to go to the Bahamas anymore? You know? Like, it makes me wonder if it's part of that, because if people don't have children, it's harder to conceptualize the damage that you're doing to the next generation. If you don't have a child that you're upbringing, for some people, it will be harder to understand like exactly the damage that they're doing. Because they're not gonna care. Why would they care? They don't have a child. Western societies have had periods of greater or lesser civilization, as have all great societies. I'm pretty certain that I would not recognize the pre-Renaissance Europe of the 8th and 9th centuries as the height of Western civilization, just as Iran today is hardly the height of Persian civilization. Civilizations thrive or fall based on the choices and efforts people make, and there is no civilization in the world more worthy of preservation than post-war America and Western Europe, with all of their flaws. Freedom and science have flourished, and we have pulled billions of people out of poverty worldwide. Reagan's optimism and tenacity in the face of derision and persecution by the left is an example to us all. It still moves me to get up every day and fight, and I hope it does the same for all of us committed to preserving what's best in our society. I think that's a pretty, I don't know about the Reagan mention at the end here, but I don't know about that. But I think this is a fairly decent article for like, yeah, shit might seem hopeless, but that's what they want. You should do something because they want you to do nothing. These dying white dinosaurs see the asteroid of humanity's evolution coming for them. And in a naked act of panicked self-preservation, they're firing off one final Hail Mary salvo to try and stave off political extinction. Republicans are furiously dismantling the provisions and protections of the Voting Rights Act for one reason. They assume that white voters will save them. Instead, we must be the ones to end them.
We? We.
That's a little, I'm not joining your suicide pact, John Pavlovitz, if that's your real name. And I can already hear, like, the duplicitous, smug lies from people on the left being like, why are you making this into a racial thing? He's obviously talking about Republicans. It says it right there. He's not making it racial. It's about the Democrats and the Republicans. And obviously the Republicans need to lose forever because otherwise they would turn us into a fascist nation. You're just trying to be racist because you, like, hate black people? Yeah, no, a guy literally saying, yeah, white people are dying dinosaurs. We need to get rid of them. Yeah, no, I don't care about your commie gobbledygook. The Beautiful Mess by John Pavlovitz. The rights of black people are under attack. Decent white people need to fight for them. Yeah, I would say decent white people fought for that and died for that in, like, I don't know, the Civil War. So, I don't really know what you're talking about here. Dear supposedly non-racist white people in the United States, you realize what's happening right now, don't you? You have to see it at this point, right? I mean, they're not hiding it anymore. this repugnant, racist president, his white supremacist party, and the soulless bigots he's polluted the highest court of our nation with, they aren't even trying to pretend this is anything else but the desperation of morally inverted human beings who realize time and progress are coming to swallow them up. They've read the writing on the wall ever since November of 2024. They've seen the changing demographics of this nation. Hold up! The changing I thought that was a conspiracy theory. I had hit pieces written on me because I repeated what Keir fucking Starmer said. Wait, what do you mean, the changing demographics of this nation? I was told that's fake. They've witnessed the wild swings in the state and local elections away from them and their draconian fever dreams. And they see the plummeting approval ratings of a deranged, lame duck president whose narcissism, recklessness, and incompetence are collapsing our economy, terrorizing vulnerable people, alienating our allies, and throwing the entire planet into chaos. These dying white dinosaurs see the asteroid of humanity's evolution coming for them, and in a naked act of panicked self-preservation, they're firing off one final Hail Mary salvo to try and stave off political extinction. Republicans are furiously dismantling the provisions and protections of the Voting Rights Act for one reason. They assume that white voters will save them. I wonder how this guy would feel if we had aggressively gerrymandered districts for white people. I wonder how he'd feel about that. If they don't want us to be racist, why are they actively making you an uber racist? Be like Jeremy Kaufman. They believe that if they can silence the voices and the votes of black people in this country, they will be able to drag this nation back to Jim Crow segregation unabated. They are banking on the hypothesis that if they legislate and gerrymander historically racial minorities out of the electoral process, they'll have no remaining obstacles to a pre-civil rights movement United States. It turns out the alleged greatness MAGA has been pining for over the past 10 years is a gated community of ignorant, phobic, white people. I think what's really funny is that all of the people who espouse this kind of bullshit are the ones who live in the gated communities. They might not be the same gated communities that the Boers have to live in with like all the barbed wire and multiple metal electric doors and electric fences and barred doors on their bedrooms. You know, might not be that kind of a gated community, but soon, TM, if they get their way. The Republican Party is going all in on the assumption that people who share their pigmentation also share their corroded hearts, that we will amen their repulsive aspirations and co-sign their depraved delusions. You see, I also don't understand this because I have never seen a single Republican doing anything for, like, white people specifically. It's all about American. And it's like, not only white people are now native-born Americans. Like, I don't know what you mean by, like, are we advocating for, like, sending them back? Like, what is this? How does one amen to something? Can I get an amen? Like that, you know? And we're going to have to be the ones to reclaim this nation for the disparate multitude it was always supposed to belong to. The fuck does he mean by that? What the fuck? Okay, like, by that logic, literally none of you belong here. Like, it was the Native Americans, and then we conquered. We, meaning the Europeans, the British settlers, the Spanish settlers, right? They came, they conquered, they set up civilizations. What are you talking about? This existential crisis facing us is not a black problem or a Latino problem or a brown-skinned immigrant problem. This is a decent white people who are sick to their fucking stomachs of white racists problem. I don't like drinking and I feel like I need a drink after that, man. Like, what is this guy smoking? The rights of people of color must be the hill we take and are willing to die on, lest our fragile, imperiled republic dies instead. I don't understand how that correlates, right? Like, for just a moment, let us engage in a hypothetical, all right? Let us engage in the hypothetical scenario that Republicans are, in fact, running on a platform of black people no longer get to vote. They want to strip the rights from black people wholesale. Now, if we lived in that hypothetical reality, black people are only 13% of the population. If 13% of the population had their voting rights completely removed, the republic would not die. That would just not happen. Like, it would be bad to just remove the voting rights from an entire block of people, but the republic would not die. This guy is fucking crazy. This delusion is so much more dangerous than people on the right are willing to accept. This is not harmless stupidity. It is not. This is absolutely not harmless stupidity. This is a man saying exactly what the majority of people on the left want at this moment. This is the mainstream left. This is not niche. This is not radical. This is not a small portion. This is not a loud but small minority. This is the mainstream opinion. These unapologetically racist machinations and shameful civil rights regressions authored by our low melanin brethren. This guy's just inventing new ways to disparage white people. That's crazy. That's funny. Civil rights regressions authored by our low melanin brethren, as alarming as they are an invitation to the rest of us. We have a golden moment to declare our conscientious objections to their uncivil war on people of color, to forcefully and permanently bend the arc of the moral universe towards justice, and to send these sneering supremacists back to the hell that they came from, once and for all. Now, I have a two-pronged question here. Why does this guy assume that America belongs to the minorities? First question. Second question, if we are a supremacist country, as you believe that we are, why would they want to be here? If we are a white supremacist country, why do all the brown people want to come here? If we were sufficiently white supremacist, would the brown people not just avoid coming here? Because if we were a white supremacist country and brown people came here, wouldn't they just get killed? Wouldn't they just get captured and either like killed or spirited away somewhere? Like what are we talking about? Send the sneering supremacists back to the hell that they came from. So you're not sending us anywhere? Because first of all, one, not supremacists. This is like when all of the leftists freaked out on Twitter and they were like, oh my God, I hope it happens to you what you want to happen to immigrants. And it's like, yeah, we just want them to go home. So thank you. Thank you for wanting me to get home safely? Question mark. The only supremacy is American supremacy. We need an eagle screeching sound effect. And this all must be done now. We cannot squander time navel-gazing, engaging in prolonged lamentations, or trying to predict how bad things will get. We need to throw ourselves into the trenches of local politics. We need to leverage our social circles, economic resources, and social media platforms to denounce white Christian nationalism. And perhaps, most importantly, we need to get into the faces of the white people in our orbit and let them know that these are the moments to declare who they truly are. This guy just sounds unhinged. Like, I understand it's not, again, he's not an idiot. This isn't retardation. This is malicious, purposeful direction. And it's horrifying to read that there are people who actually believe this shit. We cannot profess to be anti-racist. Friendly reminder that anti-racist is not actually not racist. Anti-racist is be racist to the correct people. And be silent right now. We either need to find and raise our voices in opposition or admit that we really aren't all that interested in equality, that our activism has been performative, that our convictions aren't worth much to us. Because there will be costs to this work, white friends. We will face separations in our families, disruptions to our social circles, disconnections from our church friends, and relational turbulence we've never experienced. Yeah, that's usually the reaction of people when you ask them to join in a suicide pact. More normal people would be like, yeah, no, I kind of like living, actually. There will be financial repercussions, the loss of opportunities, and the disillusion of partnerships. You mean what the left has been using to terrorize the right for over a decade now? What are you fucking talking about? We may face the emotional and perhaps even physical violence of people who look like us but bear no internal resemblance. Bro, it's the white fucking lefties who have been perpetrating all of this violence. What do you mean? They are the ones who claim to have empathy while lacking in all of it and perpetrating like fucking crazy violent crimes. What is this guy talking about? We even found out that the left had been funding the quote-unquote far-right terrorism. The left had been sending money to the Nazi Party of America. The left was sending money to fucking the KKK, bro. The left funded the Charlottesville rally. What are you talking about? The guy that shot that dude in the Minnesota ICE protest were Latino. Checkmate. It's just like confounding because I want to live in reality. I want to operate on fact, but you can't. You cannot, because these people are so emotional. They see a fact and they just twist it to fit themselves. It's illogical and it's maddening. This is pure propaganda, disgusting. Like, in a sane society, this would be treated as a manifesto and this guy would be arrested. We're going to lose something as we confront the racists around us, but it's a hell of a lot better than losing our democracy or our souls. What? He like gets more crazy as I keep going. The Republican Party believes that other white people will save them. Instead, we must be the ones to defeat and destroy them. The Beautiful Mess by John Poplovitz is a reader-supported publication. To receive new posts, no, dude. Thank you so much. I am a mobility-impaired elder white woman who is committed to doing what I can to stop the many horrors of this quote-unquote regime. It is not an administration. Thank you for highlighting the importance of doing this for the sake of our fellow humans, including us white folk. Next, the environment, and along the way, repairing the system that has allowed this. I just do not understand. How has it become okay to, like, advocate for getting rid of white people? And why are there people who are like, hello, fellow white people, I need you to kill yourselves, okay? I need you to sacrifice yourself and your children on this altar here. Don't think about it. Don't worry, just do it. And it's like, I'm glad that this guy got rightfully fucking dogged on by fucking everyone. Thank you for finally admitting you want to end white people. Your logic is statistically flawed, but facts never get in the way of a good story. The people you're threatening with extinction should respond proportionally. Which is, if someone is threatening you with killing you, yes, it should have a proportionate response, not a, well, I could respond, but someone said a mean joke in a group chat, and so that's what I should focus on. When we win, do not forget these people want you broke, dead, your kids raped and brainwashed, and they think it's funny. I don't really care what you think of Sam Hyde as an individual. This quote is forever accurate. Man, just read that back to yourself and spend some time reflecting on why white people, especially those of us with children, might see you as a mortal enemy. True. You're right about it being an asteroid. We've arrived. True. It's not happening. The Great Replacement Theory is not real. It's just not a thing. What are you talking about? Actually, the Great Replacement Theory is a right-wing conspiracy theory. Well, it might be happening, but it's still a conspiracy theory that we can get people fired from their jobs for. Actually, it is happening, and it's a good thing, and you need to participate as a fellow white person. It's crazy. It's crazy how many politicians, like, again, Keir Starmer, Hillary Clinton have come out and said these things. Now we're getting people ever so bold being like, yeah, it's time to suicide pack it up. Translation, racial districting is good because it benefits Democrats. Racism 101. To any white person who's reading this and falling for the guilt BS, you have nothing to prove, and people like this hate you. Fuck them. Yes. That's a true picture. That's a very true picture. This video was in the search that I did. Liberal University torched for warning on whiteness pandemic 5 months ago? I don't remember this.
Speaking of never heard of, the University of Minnesota's Child Development Program is warning about a whiteness pandemic and offering
advice. Of course it's in
On
Minnesota.
how to reverse it. But first, obviously,
that's a crazy thing to come out of Minnesota while it is literally drowning in Somalian fraud. Yeah, the Somalians are stealing from absolutely everyone, but whiteness is the real problem.
What is a whiteness pandemic? Well, a page on the university's website says, whiteness refers to culture, not biology. The centuries-old culture of whiteness features colorblindness, passivity, and white fragility, which are all covert expressions of racism common in the United States.
So instead of being colorblind, we should actually advocate for a cohesive racial identity like all the other racial groups? Is that what you want us to do?
The webpage then offers steps for how to halt and reverse the whiteness pandemic. Explaining this, If you were socialized into the culture of whiteness during childhood, oh, not to worry, it's not your fault. But as an adult, it is now your responsibility to self-reflect, re-educate yourself, and act.
Being nice to people regardless of race is a white thing. I mean, yeah. Don't you want to participate in is that culture instead? Just scam everyone.
A University of Minnesota spokesperson told Fox News Digital in a statement that the school is, quote, steadfast in its commitment to the principles of academic freedom. Joe Concha, I see that as we provide a place where any extreme viewpoint will in fact be offered, but not offering an association with that viewpoint. What say you?
Who wrote that?
So hold on a minute. If I was a student at this university and I saw this re-education call to get rid of color blindness, I would be like, okay, so if you're telling me that radical ideas can be proposed and talked about here, how about I propose a white racial identity? How about I propose the opposite of what you guys are asking for here? What if we have the opposite radicalness? What if we do that? I would like to see the reaction. I wonder if they would allow that.
Joy Reid? I mean, where did this come? It's so racist. It's insane.
It is. It really is.
It sounds like a disease that's in search of a cure. And apparently the only way to do that is to...
That's true. White people are a disease, and the only cure is more migration.
Re-educate yourself by joining, according to the website, Black Lives Matter, which is only one of the corrupt organizations... It's like, prove you're not a racist white person by giving money to this corrupt organization. You're a racist if you're white and you don't buy black people mansions. Holy shit, dude. Around. So it's not a surprise this is happening in Minnesota, though. This is the same place where you could go into my son's 4th grade bathroom in an elementary school.
I'm not even white and I'm offended for y'all.
Minnesota for you these days.
Oh my goodness. Whenever the stories get all like mealy-mouthed, I know exactly what it's all about. Because whenever you can't really understand this vague verbiage, you know that it's just fluff rather than rooted in reality.
Yeah, well,
even if it's fluff and not rooted in reality, it is what these people genuinely believe, and they are working towards a way to get rid of you, which is the problem. It's not just, oh, point, haha, they're retarded. They're actively motivated to do something about this.
Joe's right. I mean, it is blatantly racist, and it's not enough for the school to come out or the program to say, well, it's rooted in culture and not in biology. No, that's not going to cut it, because imagine that these comments, these statements were made about literally any other race in the United States. This is only acceptable to say about white people. That's the fact here. And quite frankly, this should result in a civil rights investigation from the Trump department, from the Trump Justice Department.
You would think so, but this was 5 months ago. Like, maybe I covered this, but I certainly don't remember it.
This is a school that received $600 million in federal grants just last year. Wow. Why are we, the American taxpayer, funding programs like this? That's my question. So I would like to see the Justice Department get serious about rooting out these sorts of ideologies from American taxpayer-funded universities.
Yeah, because rhetoric matters, Carly. So them just saying, oh, it's not about biology, we mean it's this cultural thing to try to distance themselves, what is blatantly hate language, hate directed at an entire group of people, won't cut it. It certainly won't pass legal muster.
Yeah, and if I read the story and didn't know what university it came from, I probably would have guessed University of Minnesota.
Or Oregon.
Yeah, right, exactly. Going back to the previous topic, Oregon as well, a state where the governor is somebody who...
Minnesota has a new AG, so maybe we'll see something. That's, I hope, really good for you guys. I hope the new AG is actually a good sign. Did you get married yet? No, I have not. Hello, Sock Cap. It's been fucking ages. What the hell? Hello, Sock Man. Now that Bondi's gone, hopefully something gets done, but who knows? I mean, it feels like stuff's been getting done since they finally got rid of fucking Bondi, but you know.
Who famously said, one man's socialism is another man's neighborliness, so stay liberal with a capital L, or I guess S for socialism. You know, this is also, though, good news is that people do have choices when it comes to where they go to college, and it's why so many kids are now going to Southern schools, because they don't want to deal with this anymore. I am a little bit surprised about the lean in still to the identity politics situation. You would think that most people of this political persuasion would have thought when they saw the results of the 2024 presidential election that that was a denial of that type of thinking. But in many instances, including the mayor of Seattle, who just won. They're leaning.
I was gonna say, why would they think that it's a denial of their worldview? They see it as people who are against them. They don't see it as people denied the talking points they have. They see it as people just don't understand what we're doing is for their own good. You gotta hide the DEI vegetables, you know? Ikran Nate, thank you for that 6 months of gift sub to Sock Cap, dude. Thank you. Thank you, my guy. Thank you. You got any jobs open? You're having bad luck. I don't have jobs. What do you mean? A few days ago, Nick Shirley was posting about the FBI raiding the Leering Center. Yeah, we did see that. It took like 6 months, but, you know, we got there.
Into it even more.
Yeah, Julie, remember during the height of sort of 2020 and that whole portion when people were paying other people to educate them and to re-educate them and to integrate them and do all those things that this thing was explaining, saying like, you know, how I need to essentially buy tools of how to comport with this very damaging ideology that essentially says no matter what you do, simply by existing, you are part of the problem. What's going on with schools?
I mean, it's the liberalism which exists in schools, which is basically making people apologize for being born the way they were.
Like, I know this is Fox, but it's still jarring to me to hear people, like, be somewhat truthful on a mainstream media platform.
I mean, God forbid that you're born one gender. God forbid that you're born white. I mean, the fact that on the website it says if you were socialized into the culture of whiteness during childhood, it is not your fault. Wait, I'm sorry, what? So you're telling white people that it's your fault or it's not your fault for being born white. You can fix that.
White people have original sin, obviously. Your left genes and my right genes can make an enlightened centrist baby. Also, you're Mormon? Does that mean you practice soaking? Once again, I thought you had a wife already, Sock Man. I don't know what's going on here. Your university had something similar a while ago. The socialists on campus were actively advocating for eradication of whiteness. It's appalling. It's weird. It's weird when the Smithsonian purports that, like, white culture is basically being a decent person. Because I would very much argue against that. It's crazy the things that the Smithsonian said were white culture that needs to be fixed and changed. And it's wild when these people are like, yeah, whiteness is an original sin that needs to be gotten rid of. Whiteness pandemic, what do you do with a harmful pandemic? You attempt to eradicate it, end whiteness. They're literally calling for the genocide of a global minority. And they, like, subversively word salad it to be like, no. We don't want to kill the white people. We just want to kill whiteness, the culture, the idea. It's like, no, you're not getting away with that one. Fucking commie bullshit. Help, it won't play. There we go.
I mean, I'm so glad you brought that up. Is such a corrupt organization. They are behind so much crime in this country and so much unrest. And you're telling me that's the way to go? That's the positive influence that we want to teach our youth? Because this is where you're seeing it in universities and colleges and teachers teaching your friend's child that she is a they.
It's because of the communists, man. The long march through the institutions. They're not teaching critical thinking. They are indoctrinating the children in every generation.
I mean, it's insanity that the education system has this much power. And I do believe that the Trump administration should absolutely look into it.
Well, and one quick point with this program, it's not just geared towards college students, it's geared toward young children. Going off of one of our previous segments, it's geared towards parents of young children in order to help those children, quote unquote, develop a healthy white racial identity, which apparently the only healthy identity, according to this program, is one that hates yourself for simply being born white. That's incredibly toxic, and yet that's what the left wants to push on young children.
Ugh, frightening.
Well, it's like if you have the children growing up hating themselves and not knowing what their history is and then hating everyone else that looks like them, you have a pretty good subservient tool. That's fucking crazy. I don't remember ever seeing that. That's 5 months ago. Crazy. I like how the fucking thing in the Happy May Day. Socialism still sucks, by the way.
Today is International Labor Day. Also, May Day, we used to celebrate that in communist China with empty stomach. I'm a worker's daughter, but I was always hungry on food rationing coupons. Tonight, I'm going to cook a vegetable and the pork. In a free country, we can eat whatever we want.
That's what it was. I thought about the gas station guy who says, with a car, you can go anywhere. And she says it with the same fucking inflection. In a free country, you can eat anything you want. I was like, oh my God, she did the thing.
Tonight, I'm going to cook a vegetable and the pork. In a free country, we can eat whatever we want.
I fucking love it.
Capitalism is best to prosperity. Socialism sucks. But real capitalism, so all workers' children have a shot to their American dream.
True.
Today is the international.
True and real. Love this lady. It's Hassan's sworn enemy, someone who actually lived under communism. True. That's a based China waifu. No fang fang. In a free country, a married man can be an architect. In a free country, a man can raise animals and grow his own vegetables in order to be a feeder for his beautiful wife. Capitalism is the best. Suck it, commie filth.